Hey guys, John here. So today's going to be a fun video. We're going to talk about cymbals, hats, really just metallic textures. And through this type of technique, not only can you make hats and cymbals and so on and so forth, but you can make a lot of really cool percussive sounds, metallic sounds. You can render a lot of these samples out and make your own kind of sample pack with this. So check this out. So for this example here, we first have kind of a simple drum loop here. Right, nothing too complex, the kick and the snare. And then for this here is going to be this hi-hat patch or metallic thing, whatever we want to make with it. And for these types of patches, there's going to be lots of little changes we can make to drastically make a brand new sound. So for example, here's another thing in the ARP here. So we have a little bit of velocity here, but check it out once I start increasing this on the cutoff. And that could even be cool on a macro or something like that here if we applied this here. Or we could even modulate that as well. So let's say we have an LFO. Let's drag and drop this here to the velocity, and let's give it some depth here. So let's make this a unipolar LFO. So you can add a lot of different types of groove to this here, and there's different types of changes we can do to kind of make this its own. And you'll notice that every time I hit a note here on this guy, we have the waveform changing, which is kind of nice because it's not going to be the same sound every single time, which gives it a little bit of uniqueness, I suppose. So while that's cool, we can make this even cooler, and we're going to start from the very beginning and build this together, but I kind of wanted to just show you real quick what we can do with this once it's already built, so to speak. So let's go ahead and add a delay here and also take out some of the lows and the highs. Right, let's play some notes, just this thing itself. We get those nice delays back and forth. Let's give it a little bit more mix, take off some of that high end. And instead of ping pong, we can also give it another cool rhythm under pattern. And 3/4 is one of my favorites here. It's kind of already crazy. We could actually get away with a little less high end here. Something maybe, I don't know, around 2K. Let's try that out. All right, so that's kind of cool. Let's check it out with the drums. Also with our macro. And even try to change out the LFO shape to maybe something like a random square. That may be kind of cool. We can make this even a little bit more kind of, I suppose, groovy. So let's change some of these values as well. Maybe make this one a little, much less here. Actually, no, that one's going to be the doubling here under the ratchets. We're going to get into that in just a little bit here. But yeah, something kind of interesting. And maybe we can remove this one and maybe make this one another ratchet here, something like that. Maybe not. Could be kind of groovy here. What is 4 going to sound like? It's kind of a lot, so maybe 3. And maybe we can do in like this here. And maybe make this one kind of the opposite or something kind of like that. 3 out. Now it's just getting kind of crazy. But essentially, this is kind of a cool process that you can do, and you can make some really cool stuff with it. So let's dive into it. Let's go to menu, initialize, and let's start from scratch. So generally, a lot of ways that you make metallic sounds or hats, cymbals, that sort of thing is using noise. And while that's cool, I want to show you this different technique here. So first off, we have the great inspiring saw wave. Very cool. So for this, I want to add the mix of full unison here. And for our voices, let's go all the way to 7. And for the panning, this is going to be kind of dependent on what exactly you're going for. But for now, let's bring this down just a little bit here. So we have that. Now, our first step is going to be to detune the crap out of it. Something kind of nasty, and maybe pitch it up a little bit, a couple octaves. We have that. Now, if we wanted to, we can go into the voicing and add some extra voices. If we'd like to, we can do that at some point. We might dive into that. But for now, we have 7 voices of unison and a lot of detune. Okay, so what's the magic here? And we're going to use FM for this. So this category here, we can use a lot of different shapes here, and they all are going to sound a little bit different. And then for the rate, generally on... by default, we have harmonic, which we can go for some other stuff, which is good to experiment with. But for now, we can keep it on harmonic and maybe change it to free in just a little bit here. So take a listen to how this changes. Now, to most people, that would be like, that's gross noise, but there's a lot of content in here that we can actually use. So let's make our envelope kind of match something percussive, so to speak, so we can bring down our sustain. And we kind of have something like that a little bit. We maybe want to add a little release. Maybe change up our decay curve just a bit here. Okay, so we have something like this, and for this case, we really have to start molding this, so maybe we can change the pitch a little bit here. That might be kind of cool to initially start off with. Might be too high, but just notice that as we change the transposition or the transpose knob here of our oscillator, that's going to give us much different textures. Is that even grammatically correct? I don't even know. Anyway, let's go to plus 36. That's kind of cool. And for this kind of case, I kind of want to get a certain frequency range. So I want to cut the lows and the highs and kind of find a certain spot to use. And that's going to be a bandpass filter. And we do have quite a few. I've kind of fallen in love with the vintage bandpass 24. So here we can kind of sculpt or kind of move our cutoff to that point where we think that sounds okay. Maybe something right here, maybe a tad bit of resonance. And I like putting this mod pretty high up there. Maybe a little bit of drive. Kind of gives us a little bit more of that cymbal-y, noisy kind of sound. Right, that's kind of clean. And we kind of have a little bit more of that noise, but not too much. Maybe just a little bit here. And give us some modulation. And for here, we're going to find the right tuning. So, or the right cutoff spot. So speaking of tuning, if we start playing different notes, now that can be kind of cool depending on what you're going for, but I generally want to have the same pitch going on. So for that case, we're going to go to our key tracking and we're going to set this to 0. So no matter what note that we hit, we're going to get that sound. And maybe we want to increase this rate as well. We can get a lot of different timbres here. Now, the cool part is if we go from harmonic to free, we have a lot of wiggle room. Now, in this case, we can grab a random modulator, drag and drop this onto the rate, and maybe give it, let's try, maybe for now 20. So every time I hit a new key, it's going to change this value, giving us a slightly different sound. And here with the cutoff, the resonance, drive, and the envelope modulation, we can kind of sculpt and kind of hone in on the sound that we want. Okay, so this is okay for now. Now we haven't even dived into effects, maybe. Let's go into effects. So first of all, let's add an EQ here and open this guy up. And for this first one here, we can just really high pass the crap out of it. Maybe a little bit under 400 or so. And for the next band, we can maybe give it a little bump around here. Because generally for these kind of sounds, if you ever hear a hi-hat being hit or cymbal, there is a good amount of low end. Sometimes it's EQ'd too much out, which I kind of don't personally like. I like when there's a little bit of kind of body to it. Like if it's too high passed, it can sound like that, and that's kind of just not really what I'm going for. Let's kind of boost it so you can see what I'm talking about. Like that area. It can be kind of cool. But too much is a little too much here. So we kind of have something like this here, and maybe we can accentuate a certain frequency range above that to kind of get the tone that we want as well. So this is kind of also kind of doing what the filter resonance is doing, but we're doing this on an EQ level a little bit more precise. So we can kind of sweep and find a texture we like. And with this type of patch, there's a lot of small moves that'll drastically change the sound. So if you're doing this, if you're following along, it's going to be one of those things where moving something maybe like 0.5 of a value or 1 of a value is going to drastically change what you're hearing. So don't be sad if it doesn't sound exactly like what we have here, but just know this process. Maybe a little bit of high end, maybe something like that. Okay, so that's kind of cool for now. Maybe we want to do a little bit of compression here. I'm going to drop this down maybe to 4. And notice, let's play a couple notes and kind of really just listen. Hopefully you have headphones or you're in a good room with good speakers. But notice each note is slightly different. And this subtle nuance really helps sell this type of illusion. And so moving on from here, what we can do as well is add some reverb. And this is one of those things that really kind of makes it alive. It's the same thing with snare drums. You know, we have the noise, we have the low end fundamental sound, and we're kind of making these two things as one piece, and it can sound somewhat synthesized for a while. But once you start adding a little bit of reverb, the right kind of reverb, that's where it's like, oh, okay, this is a snare, and then you put it into a mix and you can't even tell the difference at that point. Okay, so let's add some reverb. Now, depending on which is your favorite reverb, maybe go for that. If you're also here in Avenger, there's a couple cool choices that you might not know off the bat. So if we go down to Impulse, we can go to the presets, and there's a lot of cool stuff in here. There's things for drums, for example. There's some large verbs, and sometimes these can sound really cool. So let's go for some drum stuff here. 80s nonlinear. And this is also going to help in the context of a mix. That's kind of cool. It's a lot of reverb there, but good sound. It's kind of interesting. So you can play with these ones here. You can also go to the verbs, small, medium, and large. And there's also some cool stuff here. So maybe in the medium, let's check out this here. And just how the reverb tail sounds, you can almost really get that metallic sound to it. That might be kind of cool for now. Let's mute this, and then let's add another one here. And let's check out what root reverb would sound like. Let's bring our decay down a little bit. Maybe the pre-delay, somewhere around 15 or 14 should be okay. And for this, we maybe want to cut some of those highs, because I really don't like that high ringing on the reverb. So let's crank up the decay so you can hear what I'm talking about. It's a little too much, so let's maybe cut some of those highs out. And we can change out the algorithm. Cathedral might be interesting. Let's try that for now. Maybe bring down the decay a little bit and then mix a tad bit. And we can add some cool delays here for now, and that's when we're going to start adding things a little bit more rhythmically. So again, let's cut these, something kind of like that here. And then maybe pattern. Let's try a couple of these. That one's always so cool. And maybe bring down that mix here. So again, in this session, I just have this drum loop. Right, so now let's maybe make something rhythmic here in the ARP. You can also do this in your own piano roll, but since we're here in Avenger, might as well utilize the ARP feature. So we have this ARP. And it's just kind of doing its thing there. So if we go in here, maybe we can start adding a little bit of shuffle. That's kind of nice for a patch like this. And then start adding maybe some ratchets to see where it takes us. So maybe let's pick this one here. Let's go for ratchet 2 and kind of go in. Maybe take this guy out. Or no, is it this guy? Yeah, that's it. And then maybe ratchet this guy as well. And again, we're going to go in Let's try 3 real quick. That might be interesting. 3 in. It's kind of cool. And keep in mind, this is only on a pattern length of 16. We can go up to 32 and really make something interesting, and then maybe go to B and maybe make a whole nother pattern, and then C, and then D, and then we can modulate between these different patterns, maybe use a random modulator, I don't know. But just going to, kind of thinking outside the box here, we have a lot of stuff to work with, so it doesn't sound so repetitive. But yeah, let's go back down to 16 so you can kind of get this technique here. So we have this. Okay, this is a cool spot. So now, if you're not familiar with, if you can hopefully see this on the screen, these bars here in the background can help you with your velocity. So depending on where we want to send this to, whether it's going to be here on the cutoff, here, or the volume, we can do that as well. So for example, let's try out the volume here. Let's do something kind of random-ish, I guess, or so. That's not so predetermined, I suppose. Something like this might be kind of cool. Put that back here. Just kind of change out these levels and stuff. So, okay, that should be kind of okay for now. So now, this velocity is controlling this amp here. So for example, if I had these kind of down, if they're all the way down and we have this full, then we're not going to hear anything, right? So this can be a good way to add some dynamics to the groove as well. We don't want to go all the way down, obviously, because we're not going to hear it, but just wanted to show you that there. Okay, this should be interesting. Let's take a listen to this here. And kind of sometimes maybe think of this as a drummer would play it, right? So the first step is probably going to be hit with the dominant hand, and then the next one is going to be your not dominant hand. So knowing that, generally, you're going to hit with your dominant hand a little bit harder than you would with your non-dominant hand. So knowing that, we can maybe add this first one as a full velocity, right? We're really hitting it. And then maybe the second one kind of bring this down a little bit and maybe alternate how that would work as well, which is kind of nice here how we have 2 in. That might be kind of cool. But if we're doing the dominant thing, then maybe we want to do 2 out. So the first one is going to be bigger, and then the second one's going to be a smaller, kind of like what we're doing here. Like this shape, these first 2 is kind of mimicking this small shape here. Okay, so we can do that. So yeah, this might be kind of cool. And for this guy, instead of 3 in, maybe we can go 3 out again, kind of doing that same thing. And we'll see how that sounds. Now this is just on the volume, so let's take this out and check it out on the cutoff. This goes a little bit goes a long way here on the cutoff. So if we do full, it's kind of a lot. It might be kind of cool, but maybe just add a little bit here. And we can add a little bit more to the volume here. And let's check out what the panning is overall here. That might be kind of interesting, and then maybe we can actually... we can pan this as like a static thing. That might be interesting. Or for example, we can double click this here and maybe do something like, maybe we can do the spread here, kind of move it around. So maybe we can go random a little bit. So like each time it hits, it's kind of just somewhere in the stereo field. Maybe spike might be interesting on this as well. Yes, absolutely interesting. It really gets that almost that sound of the drumstick that's really hitting that metallic kind, that metallic surface. Let's see what spread all the way sounds like. This is gonna be, we're gonna go crazy here. That might be kind of cool. And then again, like we were talking about before, we could do something maybe here on the cutoff as far as some type of modulation. So we can use the LFO here and kind of move this on the velocity and give it, I don't know, 20. And again, we're going to do unipolar. That's kind of a crazy groove there. And maybe we can add a little bit more of these delays to kind of spice it up more. And if we want to as well, maybe we can control the cutoff here, because again, this is going to also be some of our tonality too. We can also maybe modulate this again with another random here. So that might be cool. Let's go to this random, and maybe for the filter cutoff, let's do like 10, a small value here. And the cool part about this whole thing using random and stuff like that, not only for the waveform, but for the cutoff and LFO here as well, is that each sound, each hit is going to sound different, obviously. So even if you have this exact same patch and you played it at the same time, it's still going to sound different. And maybe we can put the cutoff on a macro. So, right, that can be kind of interesting. Let's start it from there, and then let's give us full value. Let's say, for this, I guess maybe tone might be kind of cool. It's about a good range. So we can go all the way dark here. Or even not without the drums. Almost there, kind of sounds like a wood instrument. Like a wood block or something. And this is what I'm talking about. So with one patch, you can, I don't know, set your tempo to something, a couple 4, 8 bars, whatever it is, and just let this roll and create these different types of rhythmic sample grooves, I suppose. And then reuse them for later for whatever you want to do. And then you can also change up the order here, or of the ARP, and kind of maybe make a couple versions of these, maybe, like I said, A, B, C, and D, and kind of toggle those again on a macro. So not only can you change the sound itself, but you can also kind of move around the ARP patterns and change that as well. If you want to go really, really crazy, you can add another ARP here, do a whole nother bank, and then just depending on which ARP you send it to, you can swap out to make different types of samples. So that's just one kind of idea there. So also we can change the shuffle. I think the shuffle should probably also be on a macro. So let's bring this down, and then let's drag and drop shuffle here. And we're going to call it groove because I like that name. Okay, it's kind of excessive here, but generally with some macros, I kind of like going a little bit further than regular, just in case there's that like 0.001% of people who are like, I want to take it to the deep end, and you can. So that's kind of the whole point of that. That's pretty, it's a little too groovy, at least too groovy for me. I don't have that much groove. That's kind of my territory right here. And then again with the drums. So that might be kind of cool. Let's try one more thing here. Let's try to go for B, and let's do, I guess we're going to do the same thing we did before. We can modulate this as well. So we're going to bring this to B. And then we can turn this left to A. So maybe for this guy for B, let's see. Let's take every other one off here and kind of just figure something out. Maybe that might be kind of interesting to do a 3 out here. 3 out. That might be cool. And for this guy, maybe a 2 out as well. And this is 1/16. What's 32 is going to sound like? Could be cool. So now that we're basically doing this stuff in the ARP here, if we wanted to, we could put some key tracking on and, you know, change some of these notes. Let's just try that real quick. Let's do 100. Maybe move this up an octave. That could be cool. Maybe make 2 of those. What if we did one down here? There's a lot of things to experiment, long story short here, but this is kind of the process, and give this a try. You might have a lot of fun with it, and it's one of those patches that can become a billion other ones. So yeah, hopefully you learned something. Thank you for watching. Make some of these. They're a lot of fun, and we'll see you in the next one.